All right. You ready to dive in? We're tackling Nietzsche today.
Oh yeah, Nietzsche, buckle up.
Yeah, we're going deep into Thus Spoke Zarathustra.
It's a big
It's a
one.
book that people have been, fascinated by, intimidated by for well over a century.
Yeah, it's one of those, right?
So we've got excerpts from the text itself. We've got some background on Nietzsche's life.
Yeah, let's do it.
And by the end of this, I'm hoping you'll be able to just, drop some serious Zarathustra knowledge in
Yeah.
casual conversation. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just casually. Oh yeah, I know about Zarathustra.
Right, have you read Zarathustra? Well, of course.
That's the goal.
Let me tell you. So it's kind of wild to think that, this guy who was writing in the late 1800s
Right.
still has so much to say about, how we see the world today. But Nietzsche was, really grappling with these timeless questions, finding meaning, especially when
Yeah.
the old answers, they're not cutting it anymore.
For sure.
And I think that's something we can all relate to.
Absolutely.
So
Huh.
that's, I think, why understanding even just a little bit of Nietzsche can really give you this whole new
Yeah.
perspective on life, really.
It's true. It's true. It's potent stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Powerful.
It's powerful. So I guess, first things first, who is this Zarathustra character?
Yeah. Who is he?
Right. You would think that with a title like Thus Spoke Zarathustra,
Hmm?
people would have been asking Nietzsche about it.
Oh yeah.
Nope. Apparently no one ever did.
Really?
And he was kind of frustrated about that. It's like, come
I
on.
know who he is. Come on.
Ask me about Zarathustra. I love that little detail, actually.
Yeah.
It shows he's human,
I've
right?
got an ego.
Yeah. He's got an ego.
Of course.
But, okay, let's get back to it. Who was Zarathustra?
Yeah.
He's based on this actual historical figure, right?
Yeah, he's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Zarathustra is a prophet, based on the Persian prophet Zoroaster.
Okay.
And Zoroaster's kind of a big deal because he essentially invented this idea of good versus evil, light versus darkness, that kind of thing.
All right, yeah.
This binary.
Okay.
But here's the twist.
Okay.
Nietzsche uses Thus Spoke Zarathustra to kind of challenge that very idea. So he's using this ancient prophet figure to almost turn traditional morality on its head,
Interesting.
which is very Nietzsche, if you ask me.
So it's not just a retelling of the story of
Right.
Zarathustra. He's using him as a...
A mouthpiece to kind of critique,
Okay.
critique those ideas.
And that's classic Nietzsche, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was always trying to poke holes in...
Sure, yeah. He saw good and evil as these categories that kept humans small. They limited us, our potential.
Right.
He wanted to break free from those limitations, become something more. He called this the Overman, which I know that sounds a little
ominous.
Yeah, exactly. Overman sounds like we're trying to take over the world, right?
Right.
But no, it's not about that at all. The Overman is not about brute force.
Okay.
It's about recognizing we have the power to create our own values. And that's where Zarathustra comes in. He's this mysterious figure in the book, right? Is he a prophet? Is he a philosopher? Is he a madman? It's never totally clear.
Right.
And I think Nietzsche uses that ambiguity to make us think about how we interpret things. How do we decide what is true? What's meaningful?
It's like he's saying, don't just take my word for it,
Yeah.
or anyone's word for it. Figure it out for yourself.
Exactly. And that kind of leads us to another big Nietzsche concept, right? Nihilism.
Okay.
And we got to be careful here because nihilism, it's not just about being gloomy.
Yeah, not just being emo.
Right. It's not woe is me. It's deeper than that.
Yeah, okay.
Nietzsche's talking about this feeling of emptiness, like a feeling that life is inherently meaningless. And he uses all these vivid metaphors in the book, like bows that have lost their tension, a lack of desire, just to kind of describe this feeling of being totally unmoored.
So it's like those moments where you feel lost.
Yes.
You feel directionless, like
Look.
nothing really matters.
Exactly. That's nihilism. He saw it seeping into society, especially with what he considered the decline of traditional religion
Yeah, okay.
and the rise of these kind of empty philosophical systems.
Okay, so it's not just that, life is meaningless, but that, we're surrounded by these structures that make us feel that way?
Yeah, exactly. They reinforce that feeling.
Okay.
And that brings us to probably two of his most famous ideas, often misunderstood.
Okay.
Will to power and eternal recurrence.
All right, will to power, eternal recurrence. These are big ones, so buckle up.
Yeah, these are the big dogs.
Okay. I'm ready to have my mind blown. Hit me with it.
All right, so will to power. It's a loaded term.
It sounds intense, like
That's
almost violent.
Right, like, I'm taking over.
Yeah.
But for Nietzsche, it wasn't about brute force. It wasn't about dominating others.
Okay.
It was much more about this, like, internal drive to grow, to overcome challenges, to create.
So less about power over others and more about, like, the power to become yourself.
Yes, exactly. It's that force within you, that makes you stay up late working on a project you're passionate about, or push yourself to run that extra mile, or even, just to speak up for what you believe in. It's that force of creation, self-actualization, that he saw as, like, fundamental to human nature.
I like that. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Eternal recurrence. That one still kind of freaks me out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mind bender for sure. So imagine this, right?
Okay.
What if everything in your life, everything, every joy, every heartbreak, every boring meeting, every cup of coffee happened again and again?
Oh my God.
Exactly the same way for all eternity.
Okay, yeah. Officially freaked out now.
Right. It's a lot. It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
But I don't think Nietzsche was necessarily saying that this is, like, literally true.
Okay.
It was more of a thought experiment, a way to make us think about our lives or choices, but in this really radical way.
So how do we even wrap our heads around that, like, as a concept?
Yeah, so think of it this way. If you knew you were going to live your life over and over again, would you change anything about how you're living right now? Would you take more risks?
Yeah.
Would you tell someone how you really feel? Would you finally try that pottery class?
It's like a gut check.
Yes.
For your choices.
It's a gut check.
Like, are you living in a way that you would want to just repeat?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's where I think, like, the aha moment is, because it's not about the fear of being, like, stuck in some cosmic time loop.
Right.
It's about recognizing that this life right now, this moment, matters.
Yeah.
Every choice, every action shapes this life we're living.
I love that.
And even if it's not eternally recurring, it's still pretty significant,
It's like we have this one precious life, we gotta make it count.
Exactly. And that brings us to this other layer of Thus Spoke Zarathustra that I think is so fascinating, and that's the style. Because this isn't, your typical philosophy book. It's not like dry prose and arguments.
Right.
It's wild. It's full of imagery, metaphors.
Yeah, you've got, like, tightrope walkers,
yes,
lions, the sun. There's this, like, mysterious ugliest man.
The ugliest man, yeah. It's like a dream you're trying to piece together,
Yeah.
And I think Nietzsche knew that sometimes you need more than just, like, logic and arguments to get to those depth truths, right? So he uses these vivid images to kind of, like, bypass our rational minds and speak directly to our emotions, our intuitions.
So it's like he's trying to, like, sneak past our defenses and just plant these ideas right into our subconscious.
Totally. Totally. He's playing the long game, and it works. You finish reading Thus Spoke Zarathustra, and these images, they stay with you.
Yeah.
They make you think and feel in ways you might not expect. Take the tightrope walker, for example.
Oh, yeah, the one who's, like, walking between life and death.
Exactly. Walking this precarious rope between life and death.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's not about literal tightrope walking.
No. It's a metaphor for the human condition, right?
Okay.
Always balancing between risk and safety, striving for greatness while facing the possibility of failure.
Right.
It's about embracing that tension.
Okay.
Or take the lion, right? Another recurring image.
What does the lion represent?
So the lion, for Nietzsche, represents this kind of primal force, this yearning to break free from those old restrictive ways of thinking and living. It's about claiming your own power, creating your own values, becoming who you truly are, even if it means, ruffling some feathers, challenging the status quo.
I like it.
So these images, they're like keys.
Yeah.
They unlock different layers of meaning in the text.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, it's starting to really click for me now. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what makes reading Thus Spoke Zarathustra such a unique experience. It's not just about, like, understanding the ideas, but it's about feeling them.
Right. It's like he's saying, don't just think about these ideas, like, feel them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that brings us to Zarathustra's own journey throughout the book.
Okay.
So he descends from this mountaintop solitude, he goes out into the world, and he encounters all these strange and fascinating characters.
Like who? Give me some examples.
Well, there's the saint who represents this life of, like, piety and self-denial that Nietzsche actually saw as a form of weakness.
Interesting.
Like, A way of avoiding the challenges of truly living.
It's that, like, comfort over growth thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Playing it safe instead of, stepping into the unknown and risking failure.
Right, right.
And then there's, like, the ugliest man. And again, this isn't about, like, physical ugliness. It's about the ugliness of the human spirit, right? When it's consumed by resentment and envy and the desire for revenge.
So it's about, like, those negative emotions that we can hold on to.
Exactly. It's a cautionary tale,
Yeah.
about letting those darker impulses rule your life. And then there's the fire-breathing hound, which,
I mean, come on, that sounds like something straight out of a fantasy novel.
right. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But like all the other images, it's not just there for like shock value. The firehound, I think, embodies these primal instincts,
Okay.
that raw, destructive energy that I think we all have within us.
So it's about, like, confronting those darker aspects of ourselves.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Nietzsche believed that true strength comes from facing those shadows within ourselves,
Okay.
from learning to harness their power instead of letting them control us.
Okay, so we've journeyed with Zarathustra, faced down nihilism, stared into the abyss.
Yeah, it's been a ride.
I feel like I've done a mental marathon here.
For sure.
But here's the thing that blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just left with, like, our heads spinning,
Right.
There's this, like, real sense of, I don't know, hope almost, and, like, even a call to action embedded in all of this.
Absolutely. And I think that's what often gets missed in interpretations of Nietzsche. It's not just about tearing things down.
Right.
He wants us to build something new, something better.
So if we had to kind of, like, sum up, I don't know, the core message of Thus Spoke Zarathustra, what would you say, like, the big takeaways are? What do we actually do with all of this?
I think Nietzsche is handing us this incredible responsibility to create our own meaning in a world that it doesn't offer easy answers anymore. He's basically saying, look, the old rule books, they're gone. What are you going to do with that freedom?
It's exciting and terrifying at the same time.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, wow, I get to decide what matters to me, but then it's like, wait, there's no map. I have to figure this out myself.
Yeah, and I think that's where people get tripped up.
Yeah.
They get stuck in that anxiety of the unknown instead of embracing the opportunity.
So how do we do that? How do we go from, like, feeling lost and nihilistic to actually creating a life that, like Nietzsche would say, is worth repeating for all eternity?
Start with self-awareness. It's got to start there.
Okay.
Take a hard look at what you believe, your values.
Okay.
Ask yourself, are these really my values? Or are they just, things I've picked up along the way, inherited beliefs?
It's like we need to do a full inventory of our own internal compass and figure out, like, what's actually pointing north for us, not just what we've been told should be important.
Exactly. And that's not always comfortable, by the way.
Yeah.
It might mean questioning things we thought were, untouchable. Relationships, careers, belief systems, right? But that's where the growth is.
So it's like Nietzsche saying, don't just go through the motions, wake up. Ask the tough questions. Figure out what gets you fired up, what gives your life meaning, and go after it.
Yes, and that going after it part, that's will to power. It's that drive, that creative force that pushes us to, step into our potential.
So not about dominating others.
Oh, no.
But about, like, harnessing that energy to create something meaningful.
Yes.
Whether it's, art, relationships, a business, a movement, whatever.
Whatever resonates.
Right.
And that's where I think we start to chip away at that feeling of meaninglessness, because when we're doing something we care about, something that aligns with our values, well, that's when we tap into a sense of purpose that, no external source can give us.
It's like we become the authors of our own lives.
Yeah. Yes. The creators of our own meaning.
Yes. Love that.
And suddenly that existential dread just feels a little less overwhelming.
It's true.
Okay, so that brings us back to eternal recurrence.
Okay.
If we can kind of view our lives as this, like, work in progress, this continual becoming, then even the struggles, even the, like, inevitable failures, they become part of that story.
They're not setbacks, they're opportunities.
Exactly.
Yes.
So even if we don't necessarily want to relive, like, this Tuesday over and over again for all eternity,
Right.
we can still approach it with that sense of purpose, like knowing that every choice matters.
Every choice shapes the larger story.
Okay, I love that. And, throughout Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche talks about this idea of the Overman.
And I think we touched on this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It's such an important concept to, I think, understanding his whole vision.
For sure.
So, to be clear, because I think there's some like misinterpretations out there.
Oh, for sure.
The Overman is not about being like superhuman.
No.
It's not about being better than everyone else.
Right.
It's about recognizing that potential within ourselves to kind of transcend these limitations that we've been talking about. The limitations of like our inherited beliefs, societal pressures, our own fears and doubts.
It's about taking responsibility for our lives and recognizing that freedom that comes with the death of God, the crumbling of these old structures, and asking ourselves, okay, if not those, then what? What would I want to create? Who do I want to become?
Yeah, and that's an ongoing process, right? It's not like we achieve Overman status and then we're done. It's this like constant striving, challenging ourselves, pushing past our limits.
Exactly. It's about becoming, not arriving. It's that continual self-overcoming.
And that's a really powerful, inspiring message.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that no matter where we are in our lives, we always have that power to choose how we respond.
Yes.
To learn from our experiences and to keep striving for something greater.
Beautifully said. I think that's the heart of it.
So Nietzsche's not giving us all the answers, right? He's giving us a new way to ask the questions.
Exactly.
He's saying, look, the world's messy, it's chaotic, it's often absurd.
Yes, it is.
But there's also this incredible beauty, this incredible possibility within that chaos.
It's true.
And it's up to us to find it, to create it, to make this one precious life our own.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, I want to leave you with a final thought-provoking nugget from Thus Spoke Zarathustra.
Oh, I love these.
To ponder on your own.
Let's hear it.
What is great in man is that he is a bridge and not a goal. What is lovable in man is that he is an overgoing and a downgoing.
Wow, a perfect ending.
Right. It reminds us that life's a journey, not a destination.
Yes.
And it's in those moments of like both rising up and then like going into the depths of who we are that we discover what it means to be human.
It's in that tension, that becoming.
And that is a wrap on our deep dive into Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra.
It's flown by.
I know. I feel like we could talk about this for like 3 more hours, but
oh, easily.
we'll spare you.
Maybe another deep dive is in order.
Maybe. Yeah, we'll have to do a part 2 at some point.
I'm in.
But we hope you enjoyed this exploration. And as always, if this sparked your curiosity, we encourage you to check out the book, continue your own journey with Zarathustra.
It's worth the read.
And let us know what you think. What resonated with you? What questions are still swirling around in your mind? Hit us up on social media. We'd love to keep this conversation going.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep striving, and keep creating your own meaning in this wild world of ours.